Hey dudes, it's Lerald. Heist is one of the best League mechanics in Path of Exile 1 for generating currency at League start, and it's getting a couple of really nice buffs in patch 3.27, so it's going to be even more popular than usual. As we've mentioned in our last couple of videos, we are now working with PoE Vault to bring you written guides for our PoE 1 and PoE 2 videos, and these guides are going to pair with video content that offer the same level of care and consideration we give to everything we do in life. We've made a written guide for Heist, and you can find a link to that written in the description of this video. So let's get into it, but first, subscribe to the channel already. We've been streaming here and on Twitch at Lerald Live, so check that out as well. Join our Discord too. We've got a really awesome community, and you should come be part of it. Okay, let's get into Heist. Alright, so let's start with the big changes that are happening, and there are really two. The first is that asynchronous trade is going to be part of the game, which is just like a massive step forward into the future for Path of Exile. And what it's going to do is it's going to make trading contracts and blueprints just significantly easier. You don't have to stop mapping or running Heist to make those trades. You put them in the stash and then they sell on their own. The other change that's happening is that all of your Heist NPCs in the Rogue Harbor are going to automatically unlock with max level skills. There's no more leveling up Heist NPCs at all, and obviously this is good. This means you don't have to run as many low-level heists, leveling up jobs, but also because the skill speed that Heist NPCs have is based on the level of the skills that they're using, this means that Heist is actually going to just mechanically be a faster, League mechanic. Got in trouble with that sentence, but that's fine. It's going to be faster. That's it. That's the whole point. So let's talk about what makes Heist special. It generates a bunch of basic currency very early on in the League on 0 budget. You can literally do it before you've even finished Kitava, finished Act 10. Just do some Heist, make 50 or 100 Chaos or whatever, and then proceed with the rest of the League and the rest of your life. In terms of what you actually do in Heist, you run down hallways, click boxes, and get orbs. At higher levels of investment, replica uniques and special base types from grand heists can be super valuable. We're talking about, at the highest end of things, best RNG, hundreds of divines. Now, in terms of what you need to make Heist work, nothing. You literally need nothing. You don't need to do damage to do Heist. A fast-moving build is good. It's definitely better to be fast than it is to be slow, so move speed boots are good. Any sort of uniques that give you a bunch of move speed, like 7 League Step, or, Restless Ward, Queen of the Forest, anything that gives you move speed is going to be better than not having move speed, right? This is definitely a mechanic that we recommend doing on Toxic Rain Pathfinder for the specific reason that we like Toxic Rain Pathfinder. It's really fast. Alright, so that's the overview. Pretty basic, right? Now let's talk a little bit about Scarabs and the Atlas passive tree. And the point with Scarabs is that there aren't any, so you just ignore those. Maybe they'll exist in the future, but they aren't in the game yet. The Atlas passive tree is getting a very slight change in patch 3.27. It's so small that it's basically meaningless, and it's not available on any of the sites yet. But the thing with Heist is that there's very little support for it on the Atlas passive tree either. The only thing that's changing is just the blocker nodes that allow you to prevent mechanics from spawning in. Heist is getting its blocker node back. You shouldn't take it, though. You should always want to get Heist contracts and blueprints just because you can sell them automatically with asynchronous trade now, so it's totally worthless. In terms of the nodes that are available to Heist, there are only these 4 clusters, the one up here, the one here, this one, these 2 down in the bottom left. And all that this one does, the secret stash, is just gives you more chance to find Heist. Heist is the only mechanic in the Atlas passive tree that you're not able to guarantee is on every map. Heist caps out at 40% increased chance to have a smuggler's cache in your maps. I think the base chance is around 8%, so 48% on average with no investment other than, a few points. This bonus over here, the Dutiful Soldier, is a pretty interesting one. If you like running Heist and you've leveled up your Huck, then you get Huck automatically whenever you click a smuggler's cache in your maps. He'll accompany you, and Huck gives it, increased damage, increased attack and cast speed, 20%, 15 or 20% move speed, and then, more importantly than any of that, 20% increased experience gain. So having Huck around is pretty useful. He's kind of like a mercenary that does no damage and can't tank for you, but he does give you XP gain, so that's kind of nice. This bonus right here, Friends in High Places, is very good if you are self-farming contracts to run them yourself, and you want more rogue markers, because high value and precious targets will give more rogue markers, and that's all that this does. It gives you a higher chance to find high value and precious targets on contracts. If you're running Heist and you're doing it for your own purposes, then that's good. If you are doing Heist specifically to sell the contracts to other people, no one is going to care that the contracts are high value or precious. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm completely wrong, and asynchronous trade will change that, but that has never been the case in all of the history of PoE, so it's probably not going to change here. The other two remaining notables are much more interesting, and those would be Casing the Joint, which gives you a 100% increased chance to get blueprints from smugglers' casters in your maps. That's 100% increased, so if the base chance is 5, it goes up to 10. It doesn't go up to 100. But, still very good, because blueprints are kind of a jackpot drop. And then the second line here that makes it so that blueprints have a 10% chance to drop fully revealed is very good. Fully revealed blueprints are worth significantly more than baseline blueprints. People will pay a lot for them, sometimes as much as a divine. We'll see what it is like with asynchronous trade, but this is a very, very good node. Even if you don't care about doing Heist at all, if you just want to put this node in and put some nodes in and just collect free, fully ID'd blueprints and sell those off, that's a free money printer. No Honor Among Thieves is another one that just does kind of the same thing and actually multiplies the value of Casing the Joint. It just makes it so that you have a much higher chance to have blueprints in your smuggler's caches for every smuggler's cache in your map, and you get more rogue markers, and then you have a chance, a pretty low chance, 5%, but to get 6 additional smuggler's caches in your map. If you have a smuggler's cache in your map, that's a lot of caches. And then on your map device as well, it's probably being slightly tweaked in the coming league. I don't remember what the exact number is, but you can put Heist on your map device and guarantee multiple smugglers' caches, which then can synergize with that and give you like 8 or 9 or 10 smugglers' caches in a single map, which is pretty good if you're doing a Heist contract or blueprint farming and selling strategy. So as you can see, this is very anemic, right? This isn't an Atlas passive skill tree setup. This is a twig, so it's very easy to just fold this into whatever else it is that you're trying to do it on the left side of the tree, and there you go, make yourself some extra currency. Alright, now that we're back in the Rogue Harbor, let's talk a little bit about the rogues, the criminals, the Ocean's 9 of this league mechanic. So you start with 3 rogues, those would be Karst, Tibbs, and Isla, for some reason, and you unlock 6 new rogues by doing contracts with the ones that you have. And so just to read right here, from our recently written up guide, the unlock order for those rogues is Tibbs, Talina, Nanette, and then Karst, Huck, Niles, Vendarian, Jana. That's a pretty long chain. You do have to do, 6 Heist contracts in order to unlock everybody, but that's pretty much it, and that's pretty easy to do. Isla doesn't really give you anybody. She's fine. She just doesn't really bring anybody to the table. I guess she's not very charismatic. Whatever. Now, the reason you want to recruit all these rogues is because they have skills, and there are 9 different skills. You're not really worried about the rogues doing much else. There are some bonuses you can get out of them. You can use different pieces of gear on them. There are 4 gear slots, and this is an example of one of those pieces of gear that you could put into technically any rogue. It will grant them like the level 15 haste skill. This is a particularly nice one to use on Huck, although you do have to use the correct weapon that he can equip. But, if you're getting Huck to show up for you in your maps, getting haste from him for free, kind of nice, but ultimately, whatever, you can use any of these items on any of these NPCs, and haste really is like the most useful one. You can basically get haste for free anytime you're in Heist. Haste and Heist, a great combo. And pretty much everybody has a skill that they're good at, with the exception of Huck, who's kind of an all-rounder and really is just mostly useful for getting that XP bonus in maps. And then Vendari has 2 skills that he can take up to level 5, and those would be Demolition and Trap Disarmament. Jana stands out as being very special because when you complete Heist contracts with Jana, you unlock discounted blueprint reveals, and those are really the end game mechanic of Heist. Those are the way that you turn doing Heist into making real big boy currency. Alright, this is a contract, and contracts are simple. They're the main mechanic of Heist, the map equivalent, if you will. So the way you run contracts is you talk to Adia and you put them in, and then you choose the rogue that you want to accompany you. Just generally, you want to go off the highest skill rogue that can do the job. They're going to be the fastest, best suited one for the task at hand. Now, as I said, contracts are like maps, so you can roll them like maps. It will give them quantity and rarity, but this only applies to drops from monsters in the contract. It doesn't apply to the value of the item at the end or any of the chests throughout the contract, so you're kind of better off just doing scour and go so that they're easier and quicker, because some of the downsides that come from these contract mods can actually be pretty nasty. Whatever, we put in a contract, Karst is our lockpick, we want to run the lockpicking contract with Karst, we throw it in and we go. In terms of what you want to do in the heist, you basically just want to run through the whole hallway and grab the item at the end. You can click any strong boxes along the way, and I'm just going to kind of demonstrate here with an example contract. This is pretty much, other than the fact that this character is extremely strong because we just got the standard league migration earlier today, this is pretty much how you're going to want to run heist contracts at the very start of a league, just zipping through to the end, hitting any strong boxes along the way. And as you can see, this alert level at the bottom is filling up. If that bar fills all the way up, then the heist will go into lockdown. And I think I can actually demonstrate that, just to kind of show what that looks like. So whenever you get to the final room, there will be like a locked door. Usually there will be some locked doors along the way. You can tell your rogue to open it up. That is something that you can keybind. I think the default is V, but I set that to my mouse. That is a good move. Definitely set that to your mouse. So opening up boxes adds alert level, as you can see. And let's go ahead and just open one of these side rooms. Generally speaking, you're better off not stopping and doing side rooms. Some of the ones that have the currency orb, the chaos orb on them, maybe those can be worth doing. Maybe if you get lucky, but for the most part, not really. All right, let's open this up. You do have to protect your rogue while they're opening a box, but now you can see there's a timer at the bottom of the screen here, and if we can't get to that end box in time, then it'll lock and we'll fail the mission and we just have to leave. Alright, so whether you have the timer going or you hadn't touched anything on the way to the final reward room where we are now, once you open it up, once you grab that heist target, the golden zup, I shouldn't have even tried to pronounce this, I'm not going to bother. Anyways, once you've grabbed that item, you then just have to escape. And so you're going to have some locked doors on the way out and a bunch of guards patrolling and waiting at doors to kill you. So this is the most dangerous part of Heist, is getting out. Some of the areas can be pretty nasty, especially if you don't do scour and go and you do have some mods accumulated. Some of the packs can be rather large and full of pretty nasty guys. So you do want to be careful in this area, and that's kind of the biggest gear requirement or demand that Heist has. It's just like you want to be tanky enough to not get killed running through doorways that have a big old choke point at them. This is also why Heist is affectionately, I guess, called Door League, because it's basically just doing doors, right? And there we go, that's a Heist contract. Then you just basically spam those a whole bunch, and at the end of them, you can then sell that Heist target over to Faustus for, in this case, quite a lot of Rogue's markers. And that's the main reward. Any chaos or alchemy orbs or whatever that you found in the little chests along the way, you keep those as well. But that's pretty much what you're doing the whole time. All right, with that being said, now let's go ahead and talk about blueprints. So blueprints are effectively just an expanded contract with a couple of setup phases. Blueprints have, on average, 3 to 4 wings. This is a 3-wing blueprint, and they have reward rooms at the end of each of the wings, but instead of there just being like a heist target that you sell to Faustus for rogue markers, they are actually things that you would sell to other players. They can either just be raw currency, you can just get divine orbs, you can get replica uniques, experimental bases, thieves, trinkets, things like this that are very valuable. So you start off by going to Focano over here. That is his name, Focano, pronounced with an F. And you want to get him to ID the wings of your blueprint. So this is why we like running contracts with Janna, and especially Deception, because Deception is kind of unique in that there won't be any doors that lock behind you on the way out, so you can grab the item at the end of the hallway and then just run all the way out very quickly. But more importantly, she gives you a 30% discount on identifying wings and side areas in each of the blueprints. It is scaled up to 40 because I've scaled up her skill level a bit here, but 30% is the default. And as you can see, each time you ID, the price of IDing goes up on each blueprint, so you really want to just ID each wing with Janna, and then that's it. You don't want to, like, ID any of the side areas. They're not worth doing. So that's it. We've ID'd all the wings of this blueprint, so now we're just going to take it out, and just for the sake of being decent, we're going to scour that as well, and then go into the planning room, and now we have to assign rogues to each of the jobs. So each wing has 3 rogues that you're able to assign, and that's exactly what you want to do. You want to assign 3 different rogues. Sometimes there will be overlapping jobs, and you want to make sure that you have a different rogue in every job, if that is possible at all, because you get passive bonuses from each of the rogues, and one rogue filling 2 jobs won't be able to provide double bonus, so you're just basically losing out on a guy. At this point, you can confirm the plans, and now we can go ahead and make our way into a grand heist. And again, we talk to Adia and set it up, and then we just go ahead and begin it, and now we're good to go. So there are a couple of things that I can demonstrate in this grand heist that are also true in regular heists, and that is that if you, at any point, you decide like, oh, my bag is full or whatever, I need to go back to the Rogue Harbor, you can do that. You do get this little dialogue. It's fine. It doesn't close the portal. You didn't lose out on your fancy blueprint or contract in any way. Also, just for the sake of demonstrating how contraband gear works, let's go ahead and go down from uber strict to like very strict, or just a different loot filter. And let's just go ahead and jump into one of the wings here. So we have our 3 rogues that are coming with us, and see if we can get something. Okay, so we got an item to drop. You can see that it says it's contraband, and if I ult to show the full description there, contraband is dropped if you die or leave a heist in any way other than an extraction point. So a thing that you can do if you get lucky and you get a mirror to drop in your heist is you can just walk back to the entrance, and as long as if it's not in lockdown already, it'll just lock it in, and then you can go back in, and then it's fine. You just continue the heist as usual. So if you get a divine on like day 1 of the league and you're scared that you're gonna die and lose it, and you haven't triggered alert status yet, just run out, lock that thing into your inventory, and then you're good to go. Otherwise, this wing is just gonna proceed like a normal heist. We send our rogues to go do their different jobs, and click some strong boxes along the way, but that's not really why we're here. We also lag a little bit because it is the day of the end of a league, so that's just is an inevitability, huh? And the main reason that we don't like stop and loot every single box along the way is just, on average, they're not really going to give you very much, and you don't want to waste all that time sitting there waiting for your rogue to cast and, you know, be nice and slow and then just get like an alchemy orb out of it. You're better off just grabbing the boxes that are there on the way, and then that's pretty much that. Okay, we're in Standard League, so none of these are really worth anything. I don't know that any of them would be really worth anything either, but as you can see, there are kind of some options here. You get some replica uniques, which function a little differently, like little clever twists on the way that the default uniques work. There are also some rare items in here. Yeah, you know, they have enchants on them, not anything super special, but on day 1 or day 3 or whatever of a league, some of these rares can be well rolled enough to actually be somewhat valuable, and we're just going to take the replica Dream Feather because it's a cool weapon, and wow, I'm so prepared that I can't even pick it up. Alrighty, there we go, that's good, and now we just leave. And that's pretty much that, and as soon as we can get out of here, we will. GGG is saying, no, I'm locked in here forever. Alright, I will demonstrate one thing that's a little special about agility contracts. If you are feeling tanky, which, yeah, I feel tanky, you can actually just teleport through the lines and come over here and step on this yourself in these types of traps instead of waiting on your agility rogue to do it. You can also just skip through, and the same goes for traps, like trap, whatever the name of the rogue skill is, trap disarmament. You can just simply run through the traps if you're tanky enough, but at league start you're definitely not going to be. So now we're just going to repeat the same process on the other 2 wings. You're going to get to see me cutting to the end if anything cool drops, and if nothing does drop, then it'll just be me saying, well, nothing good dropped. Alright, I am here in the 3rd reward room, and I found a tailoring orb in the 2nd reward room, which that could be worth a couple of divines, depending on when you are in a league, but I did find an item that I wanted to talk about just a little bit, and that's a Thief's Trinket. These are a heist-only item. There is a little item slot that opens up right here once you get a Thief's Trinket for the first time, and What these do is they can help you convert some of the item drops in Heist. This one isn't particularly well rolled. It gives you a chance for your Scouring Orbs to drop as Orbs of Regret, who cares? But there are some of them that can convert, for example, Regal Orbs into Divines at like a 4% rate. And then they can also do just some very basic things like increasing your quantity of items dropped in Heists. I have another one over here that's chance for Delirium items to also be added into, like, opening any reward chest. So there's some value there. The biggest value of getting a Thief's Trinket, to be honest, is the fact that it is another slot where you can add incubators from Legion, and that is just straight up extra power. So, just by picking that up, can't equip it yet, but you can see it opened up the item slot there, and kind of non-zero power gain that you get out of doing Heist, even if you don't really care about it that much. Just doing a couple blueprints to get that Thieves Trinket and at least have something there to fit in another incubator slot. It's literally free money. Alright, and now that we've finished all 3 wings and exited, the portal seals up when we go back to the Rogue's Harbor, but if we had left after completing only 1 or 2 wings and we still had some wings left over, there would still be a portal here. We'd still be able to go back in. And that is Heist. It's a really, really good mechanic at the start of a league, like before you've even killed Kitava, but it's also pretty good once you get into the end game and you want to do something that's a little bit different from map farming. It's going to be even better than usual in patch 3.27 because of the changes to rogues, no longer requiring any sort of XP gain at all to be maxed out, and more importantly, asynchronous trade, making it so much easier to buy and sell contracts for people who want to run Heist and people who don't. It's still October, and that means it's spooky movie recommendation time once again, and this time we're going with Barbarian by Zach Kreger of The Whitest Kids. Love that show. He made Weapons, which came out earlier this year. Everybody loves it. It's great. Barbarian is every bit as good as Weapons is, maybe better. I don't know. But they're both good, and like 1/10 as many people saw Barbarian, so run. Don't walk to watch Barbarian. Alright, that's it. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video and join the Skipping Sleep Studio Discord and become part of our community. And finally, thank you to all of our channel members. If you want to support us and help us make more PoE content, become a channel member or come boost the Discord. Thanks for watching. Bye.